B1 family, welcome to Black Logic. Good evening. This evening, we're going to be talking about cultural identity. And before we get into this reaction video, and this is coming from the Daily Wrap-Up crew, it was a well-executed video that I watched into its entirety, but we're going to take a small section of the video and really talk about the conversations they had. The young female to the right is Ghanaian and Black American. And the young lady to the left, I never quote where she was from, but she's also African. And the three gentlemen in the video that you will see later are Black Americans as well. But before we get into that, let's set the premise, do as we always do, and do a little bit of education here. So a cultural diaspora is a group of people who share a cultural and regional origin, but live outside of their traditional homeland. Okay, and the term comes from the Greek word meaning to scatter about. And what we have to understand, family, about a lot of the things that we're going to cover here today, some of the characteristics of the cultural diasporas include the migration, cultural connection, group consciousness, sense of kinship, all of these things that kind of make cultures different, whether it be from the continent of Africa, from Caribbean, to foundational Black Americans. Now, we know there has been an ethnogenocide where we have been mixed and mastered, which we have created a new group. Do we understand that thousands of years ago, our ancestors are from Africa? Absolutely. But no other Black group outside of Africa called themselves, whether it be African British or African Caribbeans, no one used that term. But we understand by the way of Jesse Jackson, he is the one who popularized that term. He's not necessarily the one who created that term, but he popularized the term African American. It's not something that we as the people totally encompass and identified with that, but over time we have. Now we are delineating from all of these terms that group us in with countries and tribes and sects of people outside of Africa. Do we know that hundreds or even thousands of years ago that our ancestors are from Africa? Of course we do. And many other people ancestors are from Africa as well, even those who are a lighter skin tone, as we call them, the palm colored people, okay? But we're gonna do a comprehensive breakdown because you see many from the Caribbean and Africa, not all, but many have this idea that Black Americans don't have a culture. And they're linking that to Africa. They're linking that we do not have a country to call our own. Well, America is our home. Let that sink in for a minute. We're not cultural enough for them. We don't have our own language. Our language is English. We didn't come here directly from the continent in recent history. So to them, we're just lost people walking around in someone else's skin. But when you go to Africa, family, and this is not to be divisive to the Black Africans over there on code, this is to the tether class, okay? This is for the coons and Sambos and those turncoats. Here lies the problem. With that thinking, we do have a culture. In fact, Black American culture is the bedrock for so many phenomenal global things. Right, and I could just name just a couple off the cusp: jazz, blues, hip hop, rock and roll, soul food, fashion, dance, and even our struggle to a certain degree is part of our culture. Just as well as the Haitians had the War of 1804, We have many uprisings and rebellions and revolts throughout our history. So when we look at these things, even our dance, a culture is rooted in resilience, a culture built from the ashes of slavery, from the centuries of systematic oppression and racial terror. That's a culture. But they don't see it. Why? Because it's too tied to America, the country in which our ancestors have built and also fought in all the major wars. We took the worst of what we were given and we flipped it. And instead of being honored for that, we're dismissed like it wasn't enough. Or better yet, it wasn't enough for them, family. But like I said, we're going to get into it and we're going to do a comprehensive breakdown. Now, we're going to refer to a lot of things here, but before we even get into this article, I'm going to let you guys hear some of this discussion from the Daily Wrap-Up crew, Fair Use. Shout out goes out to them. Wonderful work, guys. But I want you guys to hear some of this, okay? So bear with me here. I know the music is too loud, but I'm going to turn it down just a little bit here. And I want you guys to hear some of this.
Necessarily where they're honed in where it's like you don't have cultures because...
But you shouldn't say that. We built a culture.
We built a culture.
African Americans have African Americans. You guys, you do definitely have your own culture. I can definitely say. I would never take that away from.
It's because it's lost.
No, even
it's lost.
But
culture.
I would
that's
never.
That's a mindset from thinking outside the box. We had to create as we go. Like everything. Our language, how we talk, how we walk, what we make is also unique to what we are.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
I would never take that.
So I think it's just more so what has to be told to him that they do have culture, but it was made.
No, even
it's lost.
But
culture.
I would.
You know what's important to point out here, family, is that the young lady, let me see if I can get to a clip very quickly. The young lady on the right here, okay, the young lady on the right is Ghanaian, and I think her father or her mother is Black American. Yeah, her mother is Black American, foundational Black American, and her father's Ghanaian. But she is the one stating that Black Americans don't have a culture, where the lady on the left is the surely African. Both of her parents are from Africa. And she's the one stating that Black Americans have a culture. You see that? These are the turncoats. These are the people who turn their backs on those with mixed roots, so to speak. You heard them right, talking down, or rather her talking down like her culture are more pure and more authentic. But the irony here is strong. These people who claim to be rooted in their tradition often reject those traditions the second they get here. The second they get to America, they're no longer being as traditional as they were in their country. When they step foot in America, they're quick to adopt Western lifestyles, chase the same white ideals, and let go of the very roots they swear make them superior. Then there's a name calling, right? Like Akata. And we've seen that in some of the movies. Even with Wesley Snipes, we're talking about, what is it, a cotta, a cotton pickle, or lazy, or a rabid dog, or all these disparaging terms that they use. We become the targets of these stereotypes. And I'm not stating all Africans, and I'm not stating all Caribbeans. I'm talking about the tether class. I'm talking about the coon. I'm talking about the turncoats, the traders, those who are off code, those who identify with the white supremacist society, which ironically mimic the same rhetoric of white supremacists have thrown at us for generations. You know what? That's where the disrespect hits the hardest. They think they're talking down to us, calling us names like we don't know who we are. But here's the thing. We know who we are, and we have built an entire culture in defiance of a system that tried to wipe us out. They had their entire country. African countries are majority Black, 90%. They think they're smarter because they can point to a flag or say their mother's tongue, but intelligence isn't measured by how well you held on to pre-colonial traditions. And here's another thing, family, the names in which their countries have. Take, for instance, Ghana. That name was given to them by the colonizer. All of the names that you see that Africa has today, we're still debating what is the true name of Egypt. Is it ancient Kemet, Kemet? Is it that? No one, we're still trying to define what are the true names of these African countries before colonial powers came in and divided the countries up as they saw them. So even they are mixed people in some regards. When we talk about intelligence, family, is also understanding that the system you're in and mastering in it. And Black Americans, we have been here long enough to master this system of oppression. We learn how to survive. We learn how to thrive. And we innovate despite every tool of suppression this country has thrown at us. And when we look at this historically, Black immigrants were given privileges, benefits, and handouts and accesses that Black Americans were systematically denied. You go back to the 1960s during the Civil Rights Act movement, Black immigrants from Africa and the Caribbean were favored over Native Black Americans. They were favored over this. They were seen as more acceptable and more manageable to the white establishment. Because don't forget, the reason why that is, family, is because they were colonized. Different groups of whites came inside the African continent and took control of every level of government, every level of the economic system, the infrastructure, you name it. Now, Caribbean intellectuals like Marcus Garvey were radical exceptions. But many Caribbean immigrants saw themselves as separate from Black Americans, struggled for civil rights, in fact. Even during the wave of African independent movements, many African leaders outright refused to support our people. They refused to support Black Americans' fight for freedom here in the U.S. because they were too busy trying to curry favor into the West. And if you fast forward today, look at the professional spaces, corporate America, medicine, law. You'll see the Caribbean African immigrants all often used as the model minorities. They are positioned as the good Blacks, while Black Americans are depicted as the lazy or the unambitious. What you're seeing is deliberate division orchestrated by a system that always benefited from dividing Black people. And in that consciousness, some of these people from the Caribbean and Africa, and even to the UK with Black Brits, have held on to this ideology, this white supremacist ideology. And what we need to understand in this video, you can see the tension. These African sisters believe they held onto something that makes them superior. And let's be real, they've been conditioned to think that way. That conditioning is a direct byproduct of colonialism and white supremacy. See, white supremacy didn't just infect the minds of white folk. It poisoned everyone, including Africans and Caribbeans, to look down on Black Americans as the other, as somehow inferior. It's like the sister in this video said, there's deep vitriol, but what's behind it? It's a need to distance themselves from the struggles that Black Americans have faced here for centuries. And in their minds, we're the face of Black failure, and they don't want to be associated with it. But the gag is that failure, that laziness they love to mock is not failure, family. It's survival. It's endurance. And another thing, and what they don't realize is while they're chasing after the scraps of white validation, foundational Black Americans have been over here and building legacies out of nothing. We're going to get into some of our pioneers, some of our innovators like Gerb Morgan, who invented the traffic light, Madam C. Walker, the first self-made Black woman millionaire, George Washington Carver, Jack Johnson, the first heavyweight champion. We have been creating, innovating, and defining American culture for centuries. And yet we're told we don't have a culture. We're living in our culture. Yeah. We're living in our culture, family.
Question now for you is, would you now say African American culture derives from African culture?
I think we all take a little bit of something from each other.
That's
shit is things.
I think that is true. And matter of fact, Art, can you play that clip that I had real quick, because this is going to correlate kind of to this whole conversation.
What do you say when people say where you from?
America.
No, where's your country?
My country is America. I was born in New York, raised in.
Where your parents from?
My parents are from New York.
Americans, they don't know where they're from, you know.
I think American black people are the most lost black people in the world.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? Like, you see black people over here.
They know where they come
we
from.
all know where we come from.
What are some negative stereotypes y'all heard about black America from your parents, from your friends?
You literally said it all.
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, my mom would tell me not to marry that.
Yeah.
Right.
She says it all the time.
My parents are both from Grenada. They came here in the 80s and 90s. So what he was saying about how they think that black people are lazy does resonate with me, because I've heard that a lot.
And I'm West African, Nigerian, because if you remember the movie Sugar Hill, and there's a scene where they're doing the thing with the drug dealer, and the guy said, we can't work with Akata. That's a word that they were calling the American blacks, Akata, the Nigerians. Akata is a word that they use for American blacks. And Wesley Snipes was like, yo, what is this Akata shit you keep calling us? And the guy goes, we don't want to work with cotton pickers. Africans come to America, and there's a lot of my African-American friends say, man, a lot of Africans are really mean towards us. They're really nasty towards us because they feel they're better towards us.
You being a man from an African family, what would your family say about you bringing like an American woman?
My daughter's mom is American. Most African parents, if we're being honest, they would actually prefer you bring home a white person.
I can't categorically say every Nigerian got this talk, but a lot of Nigerians that travel abroad got this talk from their family, where they will sit you down and tell you, you're going there. Don't go and talk to those black Americans. You just go and get pregnant. You get into drugs. You start become gang banging. They give you that talk. That just go to the white community, find a nice place. They just go and be decent. Stay with the white people. They give you that talk. So when you enter America.
Now, I don't know if you guys are hearing a song in the background. They actually made a song talking about stay away from the Akata. And again, fair use, shout out goes out to Daily Wrap-Up crew for this video. Very powerful discussion. I'm going to let it play.
You already have a perception of African Americans. You've judged them.
Well, we don't want them here.
They're your brothers and sisters.
They're not our brothers. They were taken away, unfortunately. We will develop by ourselves.
That video could have been a lot longer. I just wanted to to clip it. But again, when we talk about these diaspora wars, and I wanted to get into that later, but since we're already here, when you even type in diaspora wars, it seems to be, Africans or Caribbeans, and they have this disdain almost, or this disrespect when it comes towards Black Americans, often saying, you don't know where you don't come from, but they would never say that to a Haitian or a Jamaican or a Trinidadian, even though we all came from the same slave ship. It's just different stops. But for some reason, Black Americans or African Americans aren't looked at as a specific culture when Jamaicans are, or Haitians are, or whatever, Antigua, like all of them are looked at. Nobody questions their culture. And the fact that we always have to answer our culture or is being questioned by people that look like us, you know what I mean, is very disrespectful, and especially when we have built a unique culture within America. And I think, unfortunately, the media does a good job at portraying only the negative stereotypes. It's just like when we were growing up, the stereotypes that we seen of Africans was the flies on the face, I didn't have this, that, and the third. So that's what we saw. So of course we had a negative perception, but we see as now 2025, 2024, we still seeing that narrative push that don't go to those Black Americans. They ratchet, they ghetto, they don't got no culture, which is just, to me, is very disrespectful. And it is a slap in the face, like as somebody who's a Black American.
Let me ask you something. What country in Africa are you from?
I'm from America. That's what we're saying. Just like a Jamaican, just like a, no, hold on. Just like.
Now, family, again, for you guys that's joining, the young lady on the right is both Ghanaian and Black American. Her father is from Ghana and her mother is from America, foundational Black American. Now, she is the one out of the two African ladies that you see is the most, in my opinion, who's very unaware, who's very ignorant, and in some instances, in this clip that I built for you guys, is anti-Black. I want you guys to listen in.
somebody from Jamaica, they're not going to say what country in Africa they're from. Somebody in Haiti is not going to say what country from. They're going to say they're Haitian.
Because they were closer from, what is it called, the triangular slave
but
trade.
But then when you ask them that question, they're not going to have a definitive answer.
That's because they're already in their own community of Caribbeans, the Haitians, Jamaicans. They're all like in one bowl. But
Black Americans are in their own bowl as well.
The reason why I asked that, that's why Africans feel that way, because they feel like because you don't know where you come from, which is not by fault by Africans.
We know where we come from. We come from America, just like Jamaicans
I guess it's just more,
come from Jamaica. Like, what is the difference?
I think it's just more relatable from an African to see another African and be like, oh, where you come from? Oh, I'm from Ghana. I'm from this place. And they know so much about their culture because they do this, and this. So I feel like that's why they feel like you know so much about your culture in Africa. So that's what they're like, well, Americans don't know, because honestly, you guys don't know. When Africans come to America, they're busting their behinds to get degrees, become doctors, lawyers, and stuff like that. So when Africans look at African Americans, they're like, these people have credit cards. We don't even have credit cards. These people are not even working, and we come here and we busting our asses. Now we're doing this. We're now 6 figures, and these people have all these years to become all these great jobs and careers, and they're not doing anything. I'm just saying this is what they're saying. Yeah, this is the conversation. It's like, y'all have all this time to get free money, free loans, and we don't get that back at home.
Yeah, but
y'all get that when y'all come here, though.
Exactly, and guess what? We're right here, and y'all are still here.
There's a lot of grants and loans and different situations.
The people from here is not getting them loans that y'all come here and get, though.
You said what you just said?
No, I said there's a lot of.
That's the point that they're proving. The people here are not even getting it. So it's like, what are y'all doing?
No, I'm saying the black people here are not getting them same opportunities that y'all come from y'all Africa and come here and get. We don't get those.
We're considering not just Africans, everybody, all the other countries are considering y'all as being lazy, because it's like, why aren't y'all getting these? Like, why y'all not busting y'all asses to? Y'all should be better than the Chinese. This is y'all Americans. Yeah. Y'all should be better than America. Y'all should be better than Chinese people who coming over here.
But we.
And
the thing is,
my question is, what are the opportunities that you think that we have over?
That's different, right?
The grants, the loans, the scholarships, and
that
stuff.
We're getting more than you guys.
I don't understand what. No, I've never heard of anything.
Are y'all seeing what's going on with the immigrants right now and how the benefits that they're receiving? Yeah, are y'all aware of this right now?
The immigrants were here.
Yeah, all of these immigrants going into like New York and
Chicago.
All right, before I let this continue, I do want to break something down that the sister doesn't understand when she's talking about what country are you guys from. Well, as I stated before, there's been an ethnogenesis, and it states here that an ethnogenesis is the process by which an ethnic group is formed and develops. Okay. The term coined the mid-19th century, later in academic anthropology in the 20th century. What that's basically saying, family, for us is when all the different black groups from Africa were brought over here, and the native blacks who were already here prior to colonial powers, we got meshed and mixed in together, and there was an ethnogenesis where we created Black American, where we created a new group. We've been here 4 to 5 generations. We've created our own culture. They're living in our own culture. And as I told you before, family, the young lady on the right is both Ghanaian and her mother is Black American. But yet she's the one who looks like she has a nose job. She's the one who's seemed to be speaking really derogatory about Black Americans and kind of siding with her Ghanaian side rather than being neutral. See, that's the turncoat. That's the tether class that she's leaning towards because, I lean more to my Ghanaian side. I'm going to let it play, though, family. I'm going to let it play.
Are you aware of the benefits that they're getting right now? The free hotels and the free EBTs and all of this.
$500 a week.
Wait, before you
per
continue.
person.
Immigrants, what immigrants are you talking about? Because
you're talking about the Mexicans?
Yeah, because that's what I see. I see is like the Guatemalans. That's
the
what
Venezuelan,
I'm
yeah. Like
we're not talking about them right now.
But
we're talking about
immigrants.
Immigrants. But what you just said is that Africans are getting more opportunities than African Americans,
Caribbeans. Yes.
How? We're not talking about the Venezuelans.
What do you mean how?
So answer that question.
America is giving immigrants from other countries more opportunities that they would give a Black man specifically. If you look online, if you go online and search, we go online and search for grants and loans and everything specifically for Black men. There's none.
And the NAACP don't have They have plenty of awards and scholarships and
that just shows you how America treats Black people as a whole. It's America.
But that's the point we're trying to get to, y'all. That the reason we're not as far as people come from other countries and get is because.
No, I'm sorry. No, this is not to be ignorant, because you still haven't answered my question as to what us.
You want to know the name of
want
the grant?
Specific grant?
Like I don't get what you're saying.
Not even just that, because there isn't anything specific that we're receiving.
Yeah, but hold on. You have not pointed out any simple, direct way you can know that Black people are lazy, but yet y'all can claim and give us that title. You don't know. You don't know that. This is what
Chinese people give y'all that title.
No. Africans as well. A lot of foreign people or immigrant people are doing that. We're not going to cut the slack. Oh, it's everybody doing that shit to Black Americans.
But do you know how hard it is? No, listen. Do you know how hard it is to leave your country, our home, Africa, wherever in Africa, to now even get a visa in itself is hard. It's not. Why
you know how hard it is to build America?
She said how hard it is. It seems very easy because of the majority of people come over here are aware of the benefits and support that the American government has given to immigrants. It doesn't matter what color, whether it be Chinese, African, Caribbean, Indian, it doesn't matter. They benefit from these immigrant policies. So don't act like you don't have a step up. You do.
We're not talking about that right now, though,
for free, and not to get anything, because you're only speaking from an African perspective.
But if it's so hard, why do millions of people do it every day, every year, every week, every month?
I don't want it to negate from what you're trying to say. Listen,
what is the shit that they give for school
scholarships?
Not the scholarships, but they had and they took away the rights recently.
Affirmative action.
Affirmative action. Look, that's being spread between. That was just supposed to be for African Americans, and they just made that shit for the whole anybody.
But what I don't want to happen is I don't want no one to take away from the hard work that Africans are doing to get to where they are. We're not getting.
We're not doing that. But if you come here and you saying disrespect to African American, look.
It's literally they're
Can I ask y'all a question? Y'all know Hispanic people, right? Mm-hmm. If a person doesn't know Spanish, but he's still considered Puerto Rican, right? Don't every Puerto Rican person still claim they're Puerto Rican? They're not. You American Spanish. They don't say that shit. But we got to hear from African people how we're not as Black as they are because we were born in America.
Okay.
I think when it comes to this conversation, it's just like I said, it's very disingenuous to say Black Americans are lazy, especially when Black Americans are the reason why your family was able to leave your country and come to a better country and have a better opportunity. And we can't act like some Africans came here because their families were well off. Like, you know what I'm saying? So let's not act like every family was poor.
It's a very small percentage.
No, let's not act like every family was poor. They came over here struggling.
It's Africa. It's a third world country. This is a first world country. So 9 times out of 10, everyone is coming over here. So that's what their point is. We're starting from zero.
Literally.
So that's what the
Black Americans started from zero too.
Nothing.
Like that's what I'm saying.
But we're talking about right now. We're coming here with no credit, no nothing, no job.
Neither are we.
Our degrees.
Right. So if you came over here with nothing, how did you become in prominent areas with prominent opportunities and started off with, as Kamala Harris would say, lift up? I see my sister here, the Harlem songstress. She states here, FBA gets shitted on the most in their own country, especially by other Black ethnic groups, Africans and Caribbeans. Wow. Good point, sis.
In Africa or wherever, Nigeria, Ghana, we can't.
It's like going to middle school.
We're starting over from scratch.
We don't even have an education system to prosper from.
But for you to now sit there and try to say that Africans, we're not working as hard or we're getting things easier.
I don't think we're saying that. We're saying we don't appreciate the disrespect.
Oh, I understand
the constant Black Americans are lazy when that's simply not true. Black Americans are some of the most profitable, the richest Black nation on earth. Like, you know, we got the most degrees as a collective. Like, you know what I'm saying? So to come over here and to keep disrespecting us.
I think it's just more so saying some instead of saying every.
Okay, so Dr. Rowland says, let me pop this up, family. Dr. Rowland states, nothing is given to nobody, which is a lie. Africans come here, grind hard, get an education, and get success. We work hard. hear this trope all the time. We work hard to get into top-notch school, affirmative actions, but Africans don't get it. And here's the thing about when people say that their group, just like Hispanics say they work hard. Everybody is working hard except the Black American. Why is that? Why is everyone that can come here illegally or legal, works hard, and now all of these opportunities are afforded to you, all these jobs, all these things. And the question is this, and I'm not trying to be divisive, I'm just asking questions. Why don't these people, okay, and I'm not against legal immigration, why don't these people work hard in their country? Then they're going to tell us about their government. Then they're going to tell us about their infrastructure. How do you think things got the way they was here in America? Our ancestors, foundational Black Americans, are the ones who built this country, the very foundation of it. Others came and tacked onto that, but we are the ones who built this country. We have been the innovators globally. We have been the inventors globally. So when people come and say, oh, we came over here and we worked hard, if you don't understand that you guys are being afforded not only opportunities, but there's funds and there's benefits of immigrants coming to this country, then you're already lost. And that is why you side with white supremacist ideology.
Everybody.
But you didn't say some when you was trying to paint all Africans as being got all these degrees. You ain't say some. You try to group all of them and try to make it seem like all of them are coming over here and prospering when that's simply not true either. Like,
yeah, so some Africans who come over here, they do very well, more than some Americans, and some Americans, you know, are doing better than some Africans. I think we should just leave it at that. But on the African side, they see it more of a ratio that we're honestly doing well, and they just feel like you guys are just not doing much. I think that's the better way to put it.
But that's wrong. You get what I'm saying? You're
So basically what she said is that they come over here, just like Dr. Rowland, they come over here, they work hard, and a lot of them are doing well, while we are lazy and we're living off the system. That's what I heard.
Justifying the wrong, like, I don't get it.
That's
like,
wrong. And that doesn't mean that the disrespect has to get there. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because I would say, arguably, if Black Americans was in some of y'all countries, those countries would be way more better than they are today.
And honestly, that's what y'all should do. But people are doing it. It's just on a...
No. Hell no, we won't go. We're not going to leave the country that our ancestors built. We're not going to leave the country that we help innovate and build, because Black Americans is the culture of America and damn near the world. We're not this influential in hip hop. We created many types of different genres of just music and cuisines and inventions. So when we talk about culture, family, there's many definitions of culture, right? The place of birth. We were born and raised in America, 45 generations here. Religion, language, cuisine, social behaviors, art, literature, and music. And according to the Merriam-Webster, it states here that culture is the customary beliefs, social forms, and material traits of a racial, religious, or social group. Let me move on. Here's another definition by Thorpe Code stating that what is material culture? Material culture is composed of the things that humans make and use. Now, this aspect of culture includes a wide variety of things from buildings, technological gadgets, and clothing to film, music, literature, and art, among others. So there's many of things that we have done in America that people are benefiting from around the world. Look at breakdancing, family. Breakdancing was in the Olympics. And look who won the gold medal for breakdancing. I believe it was a Japanese or Korean gentleman. Nonetheless, they took that over. Who created country music? Black Americans. Who created jazz? Black Americans. The list goes on and on of things that we have created, innovated, and made better. So when people say that we don't have a culture, you're living in our culture. That's what you're doing.
On scale. So I think it's just more so the scale.
Because I as a Black American, I don't know what it feels like to have to leave my country to go live somewhere else, because we have fought for everything for us to stay in this country and be able to make a living, not only for ourselves, but for the immigrants that's coming here. So I can't relate to leaving my country. I never did that. My people never left our country. We stayed here and fought for everything we had to get through: slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, all of that. We didn't have the luxury to be like, you know what? Let me go to fucking Saudi Arabia and just live my life thanks to the Saudi Arabians who made it possible. Like, no, we stood here and fought. So the fact that we have to.
Now, what is this brother stating, basically? He's stating that even being oppressed and suppressed, coming out of slavery, we continue to survive, we continue to strive, and we have built our own opportunities, even in an oppressive state. Even in an oppressive government, these are the things we've done. So when people from other groups come over here and tell us that we are Akatas, tell us that we are Jareers, tell us that we are lazy, and you are benefiting off the very groundwork, grassroots work that we have done, not only economically, not only from an infrastructural and economic level, but political as well. You are benefiting from the struggle, the blood, sweat, and tears of our ancestors and what they fought and died for. What are you talking about?
To get the disrespect, not even from not only from the white people, from the Asian people, now from the people that we thought was part of the African diaspora.
You supposed to click up.
Looking at us like, no, them niggas, you heard what they said on this shit. Stay away from them black. These are African people telling African people to stay away from black Americans. How you don't feel like?
But you also have to look at the statistics. What is it showing? Like, if I was to be with an American man, just any typical man, 9 out of 10, I'm probably going to be a baby mama. So that's what they're seeing. So if I marry an African man,
that's like me going to fucking Africa. 9 times out of 10, the poverty and all the fucking the corrupt politicians. It's like, it's the same shit.
It's not 100%. The reason why, let me say something.
So again, family, for you guys that's joining, the lady with the head wrap on the right, her mother is Black American and her father's Ghanaian. And she's the one with all the anti-Black rhetoric that's stating, oh, if I was with a Black American man, statistics show that I'll end up being a baby mama. Have she been to Ghana? I have. Have she been to South Africa? I have. Have she been to Kenya? I have. And let me tell you, there's a lot of baby mamas walking around with no man in the house, where they're working their asses off trying to feed these children. So again, these are the negative stereotypes that they create about us, and they live in it. They stew in it, and they perpetuate it, and they pronounce it. They continue to go over these white idealistic ideologies, continue to put these negative stereotypes on our people, and not even recognizing the great things that we have done. Now, when we look at some of the things that we have done, and again, I'm not trying to be divisive, right? We understand there's some Black people from Caribbean, there's Black Africans, Black Caribbeans who've done a lot, who are on code, but there's a lot of tethers, there's a lot of turncoats who have made the African diaspora to look weak and to look as though they're jealous and envy of Black Americans. And by doing so, trying to flip the narrative and repeating white ideology stereotypes like, oh, you guys are lazy because we come over here with $3 in our pocket, and now look at me, I'm a millionaire, I got a Ferrari. But when you look into the details and the policies that they benefit from, we all could have been millionaires. Now let's look at some of the great achievements of foundational Black Americans, like our sister Marion Van Branten Brown, who created the first home security system. Some people are like, oh, the only thing you guys really created was ice cream and potato chips. No, we've done a lot more than that, family. We've done a lot more than create peanut butter, potato chips, and ice cream. We created the first home security system. So for a lot of you guys who got the Google home security system, the Ring home security system, the UFI home security system, look to our sister Marion Van Brown, who created the very first one. Frederick Jones invented a refrigerating machine used to transfer food. That's why when you go to the grocery store, your ice cream is not melted. That's why we have fresh produce and frozen produce, because of our brother Frederick Jones. We can continue to go down the line. Mark Dean, he developed the first color monitor, which allowed computers to display more than just black and white. Here's another one. If he created the first color monitor, how do you think color screens on your phone occurred? How do you think that came to be? Look to our brother Mark Dean. Lois Latimer, he's the one who created, well, and here's the thing about Lois Latimer. They stated that Thomas Edison created the first light bulb. He did not. He was a businessman that got that grouped together a lot of inventors, and they were creating different parts. But Lewis Latimer came in and said, we need to change the carbon filament, okay? He's the one, he said the filament of the light bulb, which will sustain a light bulb longer than what they was using before. So he improved this invention and thus is being coined as creating it. Sarah Boone invented the modern ironing board and became the first Black American woman to receive a patent for her invention. James E. West invented the electric microphone, the very same thing that I'm using, the very same thing that is embedded inside your cell phone, the very same things in a lot of these apparatuses that you use. James E. West created that. What about our brother Gerd A. Morgan? He invented the first modern gas mask, also known as the safety hood, breathing device, and the Morgan helmet. Let me move on, because a lot of this history you guys don't know. What about our brother Emmett J. McHenry? He is also known as the person who invented the internet, the very same thing that we're all using right here, right now. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be streaming sports. If it wasn't for him, there would be no Netflix. There would be no HBO Max. There would be no Hulu. There would be no Apple TV without Emmett J. McHenry. And I just highlighted a couple of things, family, because he's the founder, chairman, and CEO of Enterprise Magazine, okay? Which a lot of people have given his company accolades of all the wonderful achievements that he has done. He's a foundation of Black America, growing up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He also was a Marine. This brother was all over the place doing wonderful things for our country. But see, they don't know about our riders. They don't know about our pioneers, the people who are still building the very foundation and very fabric of America. This is not about Black American history. This is about American history. And these are the iconic figures that a lot of these tethers, a lot of these haters don't even know about. That's what they don't know about. Eric McHenry, also known as who? Mr.com. Mr.com, the one who created the search engine. It states here, a few decades ago, the internet was little more than a fantasy. As a result of the internet, we now have access to a vast array of digital resources at our fingertips, and we use them regularly. So if you ever wonder who came up with the idea for a .com, you're not alone. Let's celebrate .com phenomenal iconic figure, Emmett McHenry, in celebration of Black History Month. That's who we're talking about here today, family. So don't let nobody tell you from any other country that you don't have a culture. We are the damn culture.
Though the reason why Africans have this negative connotation on African Americans is because of the stereotypes, what they're seeing on TV. It doesn't make it facts. Nothing is factual. We're not. What they know is what they see. You can't really fault them. They're not here. You know what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying, right? We see negative stereotypes about Africans too, but we don't disrespect y'all.
Y'all do. You don't disrespect us, really.
I mean,
really.
In the example.
Really.
Oh, y'all from Africa, y'all eat monkeys.
The flies.
Nobody says that.
No. The flies on the face.
Y'all eat monkeys?
Yeah,
I've never heard that.
Y'all walk around naked.
First of all, y'all have to stop with this. When I was in high school, I called African booty scratcher. Everybody got called an African. We talking about grown ass adults calling niggas akatas. Calling niggas akatas. Like,
but that's our language. It's nothing offensive. It's just
and that's another thing. And I'm gonna highlight some of you guys super chats there. Don't get me wrong. I'm tired of people from the African diaspora talking about Black Americans, calling them African booty scratchers or monkeys or anything like that. For number one, you're grown. You're 30, 40, 50 years of age, and you're still hanging on to some shit that we did when we was in school. Now, if you didn't notice, Black Americans, part of our culture is not the best, it's not the worst. We rag on each other, or we joan, or we clown. We have all these different terminology depending on what coast or where you're located, right? I think maybe on the West Coast they say clown, maybe up in Chicago they say rag, but in the DC, DMV area, we say joan. We joan on each other. And it's competitive. Who can make the crowd laugh better? Why do you think all the best comedians are Black? I didn't say all the good comedians were Black. Why do you think majority of the best comedians are Black? We had practice from school age. We not only called you guys African booty snatchers, but we called each other African booty snatchers. So let that bullshit go, okay? We are grown now. Golly. Now, let me look at some of the super chats here. I'm not ignoring you guys. Let's see here. Dr. Rowland states, there's no doubt that Black Americans worked hard, but to generalize that African is called African Americans lazy is wrong. Okay. Mr. G says, yeah, they should give the jobs that require to have college degrees to FBAs who are high school dropouts, not the educated immigrants. And that's kind of that's a sly little comment that he's making there. And what he needs to understand is the grants, if you look into the grant system, there's far more grants, there's far more loan school scholarships for people who are not citizens of the country. That is why we're having so many groups of people, not just Black people, speak out against illegal immigration to a point where they even want to slow down immigration. Our sister Songra says, I'm not a coconut head. I just gave an opinion. All right. Crystal Watson say delineate. And see, when we're talking about delineation, I know Dr. Rowland talking about divide. We're not trying to divide and delineate. We're just trying to delineate so we can have separation. So when things occur in American society, it's not grouped into Black Americans, right? When something negative or there's a crime being committed, they say, oh, this Black guy. But when you look at his name, when you see where he's from, he's not even from America. But when they say, oh, Dr. Uwalagu, he's from Nigerian, he did X, Y, and Z. Oh, now he's from Nigeria. Now he's from Ghana, Uganda, Rwanda, South Africa, Mozambique, etc. He's from Eritrea. They say where they're from. But when there's a crime or some negativity, all of a sudden they're just Black. No, we're not falling for that. We're not falling for that anymore. We're delineating when it comes to things of that nature. Let's see here. Let's see. Nigerians are under 1 million, but you have more degrees. Africa have a 60% illiteracy rate. The highest rates of baby mamas in the world is in Africa. Many of us know the truth. Who sent you? Okay. Let's see, Mr. G. There are simple reasons why many FAs are not successful, not because they don't value education. Okay. And we determined Movi Povic, that was a lie. And here's a super chat. Shout out goes to Dr. Rowland for the super chat. Appreciate that, brother. My point is making generalizations is wrong. Us being here takes nothing from Black Americans. Also, this mindset is divisive even within the Black American community, I'm thinking. Her family is wrong. We do not call you lazy or such. Now, your family, Dr. Rowland, may not do it, but we have many accounts, whether it be online or in person, TikTok or Instagram, of Africans and Caribbeans saying the very same white idealistic ideologies of the white supremacy class, of the very same stereotypes that they put out that you guys are hanging on to. When I say you guys, I mean those who are from the continent and the Caribbean, as well as some Black Brits. As we saw in the earlier clip, these guys were in the UK talking about we don't know where we're from and we don't have a culture. Well, I'm pointing out the culture right here, right now. And matter of fact, I don't want to leave nothing out, family. Now, before the Wright brothers created, what was the name of it? Kitty Hawk. Before the Wright brothers created Kitty Hawk, which was known as the first airplane, which you don't know is the Black inventor Charles Frederick Page created the airship in Louisiana before the Wright brothers. So Black Americans were the ones who created flight before the Wright brothers. The Wright brothers are known as history's flying pioneers, the first to invent, build, and fly the world's first successful airplane. The legendary test flight of their plane, called the Wright Flyer, took place on December 17th, 1903 at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. These days, the same planes hang from the rafters of the Smithsonian Institute National Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. What you won't see in that same, and I'm right here, family, what you won't see in that same museum is Charles Frederick Page airship. The Black inventor applied for a patent 8 months before the Wright brothers took flight. But why isn't it there? Well, that's part of the question posed by Abigail Miller, who went this, and they have the patent right here showing that it was submitted before the Wright brothers. Again, culture is just not about food. It's just not about dance. It's not about music. But how did you contribute to society? And again, I don't want people to think I'm being divisive, but let's compare what we have done. For everybody think that Black Americans don't have a culture, let's compare what Black Americans have done to everybody else and see where that lands you at.
So, for example, let's back it up. I'm Ghanaian and American, so I see both sides. So it's like Akata is nothing.
Lord, she does not see one side, and she's about to reveal. She's about to reveal her vitriol right now.
Negative. Akata is an American Black person. I'm an Akata, but at the end of the day, I represent Ghana more because I know my culture from Ghana. For an example, my mom, she's American. I don't know what part of Africa she was from. My dad, he's Ghanaian.
She's American,
but at the end of the day,
I don't know. They're American. But you wouldn't say that to a Jamaican.
But they're African American, though.
Would you say a Jamaican don't know what part of Africa he's from?
Jamaicans are Caribbean, so they already have their own like.
Would you say?
Okay, wait. For the hearing impaired, please listen to this next part. And this is how confused this sister is. I'm not going to group her in with anyone else. She is truly deranged, ignorant, okay? And I'm not being divisive. The truth is the truth. But I want you to listen to her out after he combs through that Caribbeans are Caribbeans and they don't know what African country they're from. And see how this is being broke down. Just listen to this, family.
You say he don't know what part of Africa he from?
But he know where he comes from. He comes from Jamaica.
Just like a Black person know they come
but
from.
I guess maybe okay. But I guess maybe
they're basically saying you're saying where Jamaicans from. Oh, they're from Jamaica. But what African country are they from? Well, they're from Jamaica. We're from America. Listen to this, fam. I'm gonna let it play.
Well, I guess maybe.
Wait, one second.
I guess it's easier to pinpoint.
A Jamaica is from Jamaica, right?
Yes.
An American is from where?
An African American is from Africa and America, but they don't know what part.
And this is why that term is confusing. Is which I hear people just say Black Americans now because we try to do the right thing and at least acknowledge our ancestry. Unlike you don't see a Haitian saying I'm African Haitian or Jamaican saying I'm African. We try to do the right thing and acknowledge our ancestry, and now it's being used. Well, what part? Like, no, just for that, we just Black Americans now. Like, fuck all that African American shit, bro. We Black Americans now, bro. Because if y'all don't question the Caribbeans, then y'all shouldn't question the Americans.
Caribbeans know where they come from. African Americans don't know.
They do not. They do not.
But you have to understand.
Okay, and this is the deranged mindset of people, where she is. Her father is Ghanaian, her mother is Black American, and she's telling Black Americans that Jamaicans, people from Grenada, people from Trinidad and Tobago know where they come from, and they come from Trinidad, and they come from Jamaica. No, what African country did they come from? She didn't even know how to say the transatlantic slave trade, where majority of the slaves, almost 5 million, was dropped off in South America by the way of Brazil. Another 3 to 4 million was dropped off in what we know as the Caribbean. And roughly 500,000 was dropped off here in America, because we understand the reason why the population of Black Americans, we range from about 43 million, around 45, 46 million foundational Black Americans. And the reason why our population was very large and grew very quickly was for two reasons. There was already Black Americans here before colonial powers arrived. In 1526, when the Spanish conquistadors came over with 100 enslaved Africans, those Africans rebelled and ran off into the forest, ran off into the woods. And the Spanish conquistadors stated in their records that the African slave rose up and ran off into the woods with people that looked like them, not the red type Mongolian natives, but other Black people who were already there. Then when we were enslaved, they had breeding grounds where they used to breed us like animals and make our mothers and our ancestors and our great grandfathers and great grandmothers have babies after babies after babies. So our population grew because we were property, because we were commerce, we was working for free. This is what a lot of people don't understand. Let me calm down. Let me calm down and gather my goddamn thoughts, because it's the stupidity of people just to be divisive is so damn ignorant. And I'm gonna back this up, family, for you guys to hear this, because you need to hear it again. You need to hear it again.
To this day.
Calling niggas Akatas. Like,
but that's our language. It's nothing offensive. It's just I'm a Akata. So for example, let's back it up. I'm Ghanaian and American, so I see both sides. So it's like Akata is nothing negative. Akata is an American black person. I'm an Akata. But at the end of the day, I represent Ghana more because I know my culture from Ghana. For an example, my mom, she's American. I don't know what part of Africa she was from. My dad, he's Ghanaian.
She's American, like.
But at the end of the day,
I don't know. They're American. But you wouldn't say that to a Jamaican.
But they're African American though.
Would you say a Jamaican don't know what part of Africa he's from?
Jamaicans are Caribbean, so they already have their own like.
Would you say he don't know what part of Africa he's from?
But he know where he comes from. He comes from Jamaica.
Just like a black person know they come
but
from.
I guess maybe okay. But I guess maybe they can. But I guess maybe. Wait,
one second.
I guess it's easier to pinpoint.
A Jamaica is from Jamaica, right?
Yes.
An American is from where?
An African American is from Africa and America, but they don't know what part.
And this is why that term is confusing. Is which I hear people just say Black Americans now because we try to do the right thing and at least acknowledge our ancestry. Unlike you don't see a Haitian saying I'm African Haitian or a Jamaican saying I'm African. We try to do the right thing and acknowledge our ancestry, and now it's being used. Well, what part? Like, no, just for that, we just Black Americans now. Like, fuck all that African American shit, bro. We Black Americans now, bro. Because if y'all don't question the Caribbeans, then y'all shouldn't question the Americans.
Caribbeans know where they come from. African Americans don't know.
They do not. They do not.
But you have to understand, like, there's a lot. Like Jamaicans, most of them they come from Ghana. Mm-hmm. So most of them can easily pinpoint where they're from in Africa.
But they don't get
a Jamaican is not going to say I'm from Ghana. He's going to say he's from Jamaica, right?
Y'all trying to bail them. So what does a Haitian say?
I don't know.
What does somebody from Antigua say?
No, I don't know. But
they from their country.
Listen, I'm just trying to give you maybe a reason as to why. I'm not saying what they're doing or saying is correct. Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to give you guys maybe another way to look at it.
No,
because
it's wrong. We're not going to look at it.
Now, I'm seeing some of your comments here. I'm going to highlight some of your comments. We got Shabazz American Freeman. Your president does take from FBA. You fill up the civil rights quotas that our families paid blood for, and then have the nerve to turn your nose up and harbor hidden contempt. Absolutely. Jaden and Foreman, nice to see you, brother. Both side bimbos. Okay, she didn't answer the question. Not at all. Dr. Rowland states, how many ignorant, narrow-minded folks can you address, though? Anyway, it's well. I just let y'all folks vibe. Let's all get us insulted. Love all y'all the same. Okay. Hey, it's tough talk here. It's But it's nothing below because there needs to be an understanding. Because here's the thing. The sister on the right is very confused. And then the sister on the left try to save her, stating that most Caribbeans, like say, for instance, Jamaicans are from Guyana, or from Ghana, rather. I never heard a Jamaican say that. I never heard a Jamaican say, well, my people from Ghana. I never heard that. Everything has been Jamaica. And here's another thing, family. Those are majority Black countries, right? Now, who rules those countries is another topic for another day. But they're majority Black countries. And the question is this. If you guys are coming from the Caribbean, the UK, and Africa, why are you guys coming to America? Oh, let me answer that question. For the opportunities. Now, how were these opportunities created? Why do these opportunities exist? Why isn't that like that in your country? That is because majority of the countries in Africa gained their independence from the white colonial powers, mostly in the late 50s and in the 60s. Now, a lot of these African countries do not know the original name of their country. They don't know how their countries were divided. And a lot of them are of mixed breed, meaning a lot of Africans, because they were moved around, right? They were moved around as well. A lot of them, and I'm not being divisive when I tell you this, family, they don't know their birth dates. They don't know their true lineage. But yet they will tell us we don't know our true lineage. Indeed, we do. We know at least 5 generations of our lineage. That is, we are delineating from the term African American. We simply state we're Black American. And that is because you hear no other group in a diaspora state that they are African whatever. You don't hear an African Jamaica. You don't hear an African Trinidadian. You don't hear I'm an African Brit. You don't hear those things. So we have delineated not only from the term, but from the mindset of Pan-Africanism, because it has not benefited us. The reason why a lot of these things were imposed, the reason why we fought and died for you guys to essentially and eventually come over here was for reinforcing to push us forward so we can have equality. But instead of doing that, you sided with the oppressor. You sided with the oppressor. And then she said that Akata means Black American. No, it doesn't. Akata means wild cat. Someone who don't know where they come from is the meaning. These are colonized-minded individuals who accomplish nothing. We're the most successful and the most targeted. Ms. Roop, good job. Great job. Great breakdown. Let me let this play. I want you guys to hear some more of this rhetoric.
In a different way. It's just wrong. They need to stop.
It's easier for them to see, okay.
I get what you're saying.
You get what I'm
you
saying?
looking at it from the perspective of you from Africa, and you get why they saying they from Jamaica or whatever. But it's still wrong at the end of the day because we have our own country. Huh? It's not the truth. America is a country.
Yes,
it has culture there. So if I say I'm American from America. That's my culture.
I think it's more so pinpointing the Africa and African roots, as far as they're saying y'all don't have culture, y'all don't know the history and the background of Africa, where y'all come from. So, like, for example, you wouldn't saying a Chinese person like, oh, I'm not Chinese, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, you would say.
I gave that example, too, about the Hispanic. They don't get questioned by other Hispanics whether they didn't know one bit of Spanish.
I mean, honestly, Black people, African Americans, we should just come together and just be as one.
But that's what we're trying to do. But if you keep saying like, yo, y'all not from
me the most.
Well, you know what do y'all feel like y'all should do in order to know where you guys come from? Are you guys doing the DNA test?
We're telling you.
No,
we're telling you we're from America.
So you are still enforcing us to have to prove to you that we're Black enough. Or we're African enough. We don't feel like we need to do that.
So they're just
that's disrespectful.
How is that disrespectful?
Because you don't even want to try.
What? I gotta pay for you to love me? Get the fuck out of here.
Our lineage is in America.
What the fuck?
That's just the bottom line.
So
they don't want to go back to see
how will we solve it? How will we solve this issue? Because I feel like it's not. We don't have to say like, y'all don't know what y'all talking about. We can say you don't know a lot about Africa. So what would you do?
Stop spitting the narrative of all these other people that's disrespecting Black Americans. Speak to us like how you want to be spoken to, and we'll do the same.
But what if that's not disrespectful to them? They just feel like you just don't
give me the
know.
fuck out of here, man. Send me a mothership. Get me the fuck out of here.
And they will love that because you're taking the time to go to Africa and to learn about it.
Y'all not even taking the time to talk to us without criticizing us. We're weak, we're lazy, we don't fuck with them.
The fact that you didn't want to do the DNA test, the fact that you didn't want to do this is showing how ignorant you are. That's what we
I'm
see
ignorant because of that?
No, that's
you sound ignorant. Get the fuck out of here.
That's what we're saying.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yo, bro, what part of Africa are you from? What are you? Okay then.
So he's.
But they would never question that, and that's what we find disrespectful. You wouldn't look at him.
My parents, like my father's right? Jamaican. Both my parents born in Jamaica.
Are you Jamaican?
Yeah.
My father
would
never ever say like, yo, go find a white lady. My mother would never ever say, go find a white lady. Be like, they wanted.
Would your parents expect you to look for your African roots to know where you're from?
No.
Okay.
But he would probably want to marry a Jamaican.
But my parents are definitely like everything from Africa. Like, regardless, they're big into like the history of slavery and all of that. We're African, no matter which part of the Caribbean we're for, or we're Black or whatever, we're African. I mean, they're pro on that.
Agreed.
As he said with Jim Crow and everything, parents came here. They understand that just because we wasn't born here, the lineages are from here, we all are Black. We're all going to get treated the same way.
And that's how we come to solutions when we all can agree, like, just because we're from this country or from that, we're still African. But when you got to constantly being like, well, you know, you're not really Africa because you can't identify. You ain't do the DNA testing to know which part or which tribe you came from. Like, yo, our experiences is unique in America, just like it's different in Jamaica. Like, you know what I mean? Like the Brits is different. It's different like lineages, but they're all African. Like at the end of the day, like, and we acknowledge that. Black Americans have acknowledged that. It's not like we haven't acknowledged our roots. We call ourselves African Americans. Like, you know what I'm saying?
But some people say that.
And here's another thing about the DNA test too, family. If you were to do your DNA test, what you will find out is you are a mixture because of the ethnogenesis of all these different Black African groups, like myself, Mali, Ghanaian, Nigerian. I even have 7 or 8% Irish. So there's a lot of mixture in Black Americans. That's why there was an ethnogenesis and that we are a new group, but we've been here for 400 to 500 years. So we don't coin the term African American no more. We're Black Americans because we are a different group, just as well as Jamaicans been in their island, as well as Haitians and Dominicans, et cetera, Trinidad and Tobago's, Grenadians, all these other people who are Black groups in their Black countries, but they originated from Africa. So if anyone outside of Africa were to do their DNA test, majority of their DNA would be a mixture of different Black African groups with some white groups as well. And this is what she don't understand. And again, family, and I'm not trying to be divisive, but I keep looking at her nose. Is her nose a European nose? Doesn't it look like her nose got done, family? I just had to point that out.
They're like, the African Americans are saying that I'm not African.
Yeah, a lot of Africans, they don't want to
American.
consider African Americans. I think they
I didn't get on no boat.
But those could be the people that you would call ignorant.
Most of them.
And so that's what Africans are seeing, as those people were like.
But that's not, they're saying Black people.
Because there are a lot of Black people who are saying, no, I'm not African.
Yeah, a lot of, most, if you
But that could also,
you African? Hell no, I ain't African.
But that could also be in response to the disrespect that we get from African people, though.
Yeah, I mean, it works both ways. Everybody
at the end of
everybody.
Right. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to respect. Like, you don't have to be like, oh, what part are you from? You just know that that's my brother because he's Black. You know what I'm saying?
I think there's a part missing. Are we African? Africa is a continent. So no, we're not African. We are American. Do our roots from 1,000 years stem from the African continent? Yes, it does. We are a different group. We have a different culture. So no, when you look at it from that perspective, no, we're not African. But we're not trying to make this division and be divisive, but we have delineated. Because there is a strong difference in culture. And not only have you guys told us that, we know the difference. Because when you compare, well, there's no comparison.
If we take out the countries or whatever, everybody the same color. And the white people here gonna treat us all the same. They don't pull you over and be like, oh, you African?
Exactly.
That's why I'm gonna leave you alone.
Can I tell you why it hurts though? Only because we are not going to Africa speaking that rhetoric towards you guys. You guys are flying over here speaking that rhetoric about us. You get
it? Like us
saying?
going over there like, damn, like y'all got all these resources. But why y'all ain't do nothing?
And that's the part. When I travel to Africa, I respect those people as I will respect anyone else. I do not go to their country speaking anti-African, speaking negative, stereotypical things. I went there and visited these countries on my own to see it with my own two eyes. Not every Black African is poor. Not every Black African is jumping over doodle pals. But that does exist there. And that really doesn't exist in America, right? We have ghettos, we have hoods, but we don't have slums and we don't have shanty towns. There is a very huge difference in the way that we live. But I don't go there speaking rhetoric. I don't go in there looking down on them like I'm better than them. No, I understand your history probably more than some of them. I understand how colonial powers came in and took control of your entire country and extracted and extrapolated your resources to make Europe and America rich. That I understand.
With these resources, y'all letting the Chinese come in and dictate everything.
Exactly.
If I was over here, I would have been did all. We got all the natural resources. I would have been did. Africa would have been fucking Wakanda by now. Like that's like us saying that same rhetoric. Like,
but
you know
it's
what I mean?
true though. I agree.
But we're not gonna go over there and disrespect y'all like that.
What is not true? No. He's from Jamaica, right? Who own all the roads, the bridges, and the tolls? Who own? You know who own those? They don't own shit. My father lives in Jamaica. Can't even come to America. But they don't own shit over there either. But I'm saying they're not being questioned.
We're not owning a lot of. First of all, it's just I just feel like I said before.
But this is not a predominantly Black country.
Well, let's talk about that very quickly, fam, because when I went to Ghana, when my family and I went to Ghana, I was very shocked. I was very surprised that all of the mining were done by the Chinese. Most of the real estate was owned by the Italians. Most of the malls were owned by the Indians, okay, the East Indians. So essentially, majority of Ghanaians didn't own anything. The only thing they really owned was these little side shops that they would have on the side of the street. Now, I'm pretty sure some of them had their own businesses, but we're talking about real estate. We're talking about the infrastructure and mining. All the equipment was built and made by the Chinese. So even in these majority Black countries, they don't own and or operate a lot of their businesses, even to the point where they've taken these blood loans from the Chinese, and now certain countries have given the Chinese port space. They've given them land. So when we look at the very essence and fabric of Africa and the different many African countries, they don't even own, operate, or make bank from the land that they own, where they are the majority of the population. We are a small fraction of America. We're roughly anywhere between 14 to 15% of America, where they are over 90% of their own country.
Africa's a Black country and don't own shit. Like,
Yes,
that doesn't make
when
sense.
When we come over to America,
Black continent, my fault.
yeah, when we come over to America, you guys still disrespect us. It's the same.
I
just feel like each parties are disrespecting each other. We just have to come together
I
as
agree.
one.
I'll give you a great example, and then we're gonna move on, right?
Yeah.
That's like South Africa, right? That's like the whites going to South Africa. Now, when we look at the discrepancies of the wealthy white people compared to the Black people, that's like a white European going over to South Africa who made it in South Africa, who's wealthier than the majority of the people that live in South Africa, and be like, damn, these Black Africans or colors or whatever the fuck y'all want to identify, they lazy as fuck because I, as a white person, came over here to this continent or this country and I was able to make it, so y'all lazy as fuck. Like that's the type of rhetoric that.
But that's what's happening though.
But are y'all lazy?
Or
because y'all come here and say y'all not lazy.
But the white nigga.
But if a white person go to Africa, he gonna consider y'all lazy because he got further than the people there.
He already had more.
Did you guys understand that? Because when I went to South Africa, Cape Town, which is roughly 8 or 9% white, did you know that 8 or 9% of white people control and operate 90% of the country economically? Did you guys know that? When I went to South Africa, this is what I learned. Even in South Africa, even after apartheid. So the same oppression still owns and operates in a majority Black country where South Africans are over 90% and they're still being controlled economically, where white people can go over there and get the bag faster and more than they can. And these are the same people from the continent of Africa, not all, and the Caribbean, not all, come to America and call us lazy, not understanding the construction of the government, the oppression that has been done, and the opportunities that we fought, bled, and has given, and you guys benefit from that very same thing. Lord have mercy.
More money and more opportunity.
Okay,
yeah,
right.
But that's the same shit for us here.
Mm-hmm.
So
you're saying we had so who had more money, more resources when it comes to here?
They saying Africans, but I don't
No,
know.
not Africa. I'm saying you guys come here on the same notion of the people
you're saying
that
the
have money.
white people here have more resources and have more money compared to.
We built America and get paid $1.
Yeah, we in the negatives at this point.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Well, family, that was the entirety of the clip I built. There was a much longer video you guys should go check out. This video, whole video, is on a daily wrap-up crew. Very powerful discussion. Again, family, this discussion has been going on for the past, strongly for the past 3 or 4 years. A lot of things are now coming to light of the vitriol that a lot of people that come from these other countries have for Black Americans. And we understand the governmental policies that they benefit from as if we don't know this. Now you have other people who are non-Black speaking out against these policies that immigrants like themselves have come in and benefited from, whether it be EPT card, cash payments, apartments, housing, driver's license, work permits faster than anyone else can get them, because they are ushering in a new class that have not been the warrior class that has went through an ethnogenesis and stood on business, who has rebelled and revolted to be here and what we hear today. We don't get the respect from our other black classes from around the world. We don't get the respect. We get, oh, you guys are ladies, you guys are drug dealers, you guys are all the derogatory things that the white supremacy class calls us. They repeat those very same tropes. Let me get into some of your comments here. Shabazz American Freeman, she states, then you will find out how much you earn and how much the white supremacists want you here. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me go back up one. And this was shout out to Ed Mister. No, we saw you as brothers and you will have no problem in sending us ethnically cleansed. You support it. We need set asides for FBA only, so the white supremacists can't use you against us. I am in 100% agreement with that. Power to you, sister. Power to you. She also states, my parents were freedom fighters. I've dealt with white supremacy my whole life. It makes me sick to my stomach, the attitude of black immigrants. Wow. Ms. Rube states, we already have them. We have more degrees than Africa. You don't like immoral people whom we've helped to go against us when they've never lifted a finger except to sell humans. Wow. You guys are saying some very powerful things here. Let's come down here to Mr. G. States, and FBA told me, yeah, they gave you an easier, I don't know what that means, than they gave FBAs, even though everybody took the same test. All immigrant must be reported. That's the solution, okay? Ombre says, well, if everyone is saying the same thing about y'all, then you have to find out why everyone was saying those same thing. We already know why they're saying the same thing. This is some of the same stereotypes that stem from slavery. Even though we were working for free under chain and whip, they still was calling the lazy to get more out of us for free until the day we died. Does anyone know the average age of a slave until they lived? There was very few slaves who lived beyond the age of 50 because they worked our ancestors to death. We don't need to find out why they say the things they say about us, because we already know. This is something the white supremacists have put in place hundreds of years ago, and it's still live and well because these immigrant groups come over here and they perpetuate these stereotypes. They don't even need to do anything. It's like an avalanche. It's like setting a snowball down a mountain, and they're just watching an avalanche take place. Somalia against Pan-Africanism. Shout out to you, brother. You have black immigrant groups in Miami, Minneapolis, New York City, and Houston. Africans need to shut up about gangs. Absolutely. Absolutely. Here's another thing when they talk about the degeneracy that we have in Black American culture. Now, every culture has their own degenerate group. But what they're failed to understand is the people that are let over here are some of the best of those countries. And we go back to your country, we understand that over 85% of your country is impoverished. Over 85%, a lot of the African countries are illiterate. And we don't speak down on that because we understand why. We understand that you guys were prevented to grow and to build economically because of colonial powers that are still to this day stealing resources from the continent. See, we understand the history. You come over here and you're just repeating what the white supremacists are saying. You don't even dive into our history, understand the construction of a Black American and why we are in the condition that we are in today. But we are still doing great things, even under the hand of oppression. Because that is why you're here. You wouldn't want to be here during the time of 1765. You wouldn't want to be here 1865. No, most of you came over here in the 1950s and 1960s when Martin Luther King got the Civil Rights Act signed. That's when a lot of these Black immigrants came over here. Dude says, what you need to do is get some educated brothers to take the girl with both African parents on. The other one just likes to hear herself talk. They don't even understand where she's coming from. Well, family, I think I said what I had to say, pushed the point what I had to push, but there is a large delineation that we have definitely implemented because of the vitriol, and some will say jealousy and envy, because of our long distance cousins from the African and Caribbean land masses. And this is not to be divisive. This is that when the achievements occur, you shout out where you're from. When the degeneracy occurs, everybody's Black. And when they state that everybody's Black, now they group that into being a Black American, which isn't true. You guys have a great, wonderful evening. Be one.